All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Green Bay Packers in today's video, and we finally did it for the first time since 2002. We drafted a wide receiver in the first round, and you almost had to wait an entire week just to make sure that this is real and that it's not actually a dream. With the 23rd pick in this year's first round, the Green Bay Packers selected Matthew Golden. They also took one in the third round. Very fun draft for this Packers team, and that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. But let's kick it off with Matthew Golden because we got a bunch of guys to run through. Now, you might know Matthew Golden just from watching college football last season, being on the University of Texas. You might also remember him running a 4.29 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. But like I said, the Green Bay Packers had not selected a wide receiver since Javon Walker in 2002. And I thought this was fun because they said at the time in 2002, Jordan Love was only 3. I was only 3 as well. More than 2 decades later, they take the guy. Now, we go into this season with question marks around our wide receiver number 1. Do we have a wide receiver number 1? Is he on the roster? Are they going to make a trade for it? Is that Christian Watson's last season? Or that was when he got injured in the playoffs. But anyways, regular season, blah, blah, blah. My point is, Christian Watson, no Christian Watson, doesn't matter. Dontavian Wicks dropping catches, catching catches, doesn't matter. We enter this season with wide receiver 1 question marks. Now, I don't think that's particularly an issue, but Christian Watson tore his ACL in the final game of the regular season, so needed wide receivers regardless of 1, 2, or 3, blah, blah, blah. But Golden was a superstar stud deep threat at the University of Texas. He had 10 catches on throws of 25 or more, which was the most in the SEC and the 6th most in all of college football. So Christian Watson, when he's on the field, and he has that big time playability. And I know Jaden Reed can do the same thing, but I'm talking more out routes, to the end zone where Christian Watson's one-on-one beats his guy and runs it 50 yards after the catch for a touchdown. When he's not on the field, we don't really have that. So Golden tied the SEC lead with 9 touchdown receptions. So he's a big time player and he's fast. He's very fast. But even before this past season where he officially, kind of put himself on the draft map, he caught 57 catches for 987 yards and 9 TDs this past season. He had 76 for 988 and 13 touchdowns in his first 2 seasons at the University of Houston. And one of my favorite stats, because we'll talk about this in the third round, he dropped just 4 passes in 2024 and was one of the best in college football at a 61.1 contested catch rate. So I love it. I cannot believe we did it. And we're going to talk about it all summer/spring. Round 254, a much needed, much necessary long-term move, or even for this upcoming season, because offensive linemen always get injured, or get injured a lot, I should say. That sounded kind of like a shot. Round 254, Anthony Belton, offensive tackle out of NC State. This was one of my favorite tackles in the entire draft because he's 6'6", 336 pounds. Big boy. So not only does this give you more options at tackle because left tackle Rasheed Walker, right tackle Zach Tom, they're both entering the final year of his contracts. Now, Zach Tom seems like a bona fide re-sign, but Walker's been improving. My point is, it might just be difficult to re-sign both starting tackles next summer. And then you also have to factor in Jordan Morgan. Now, he barely played in his rookie season, pretty much only played at right guard. But like Morgan, Belton was a college left tackle who's viewed by some as possibly better on the interior. So when you look at the interior offensive line for Green Bay, 6'5", 324-pound new left guard in Aaron Banks. They bring in from right guard to center Elton Jenkins, Jesus, 3'5", 311, and now you bring in Belton. And fun fact, his 87.3 pass blocking grade ranked the best amongst the nation, only allowed 11 pressures last season. Now we get to round 387. Now, we know Goody loves doubling down. He actually tripled down with safeties last year. But this is the first time in Packers team history that they have drafted 2 wide receivers in the first 3 rounds of a single draft. Now, this guy's been compared a lot to Cordell Patterson because that's how versatile he is. When he was over at TCU, he was a running back, he was a kick returner, he was a wide receiver. Last season, for example, He had rushing touchdowns, he had receiving touchdowns, and even threw a 6-yard touchdown pass. So he is actually a former quarterback, but he's just a physical specimen. I mean, this guy's an athlete, definition of an athlete. He had as many rushing touchdowns at 6 as he did touchdowns with 6, making him one of only 2 FBS players and the only receiver with at least 6 receiving and rushing touchdowns in 2024. If you're wondering who the other was, it was Jaden Blue over at the University of Texas, and he's a running back. He averaged 6.3 yards on 51 rushing attempts as a senior, and even got it as a Wildcat, was playing traditional running back. He can line up anywhere on offense. He did not fumble in 199 career touches from scrimmage, but he did drop 5 passes last season, which was the 6th most in the Big 12 conference. And as we know, the Packers led the NFL with 25 drops last season. But he also was the best receiver in the class in contested catch rate at 88.9. So he doesn't have flaws. He has a flaw or a possible flaw, and that is drops. But he's going to see the field a bunch next season. Huge gadget, huge kind of joker piece if you're talking Sean Payton Broncos. But I absolutely love it. And I just get as many weapons as humanly possible because Jordan Love knows what he is doing. And then we get to round 4, 124, Baron Sorrell, edge rusher out of Texas. Now, up until this point, up until 124, only the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings had yet to select a defensive player. Now, Sorrell has very improved in his college career. He first became a starter in 2022, posted a 12.5 pressure rate last season, which was 9th best in the SEC. He's also got over 400 snaps at defensive end, more than 100 at defensive tackle, one of only 4 SEC players to do so. He had 28 bench press reps. It's a big dude. He had 48 total pressures, which was the most on Texas last season. So I know it was round 4, but I'm telling you, this guy can play, and they'll bring him in situationally next season, just like they will with Colin Oliver. Round 5, 159 out of Oklahoma State. A little bit smaller for an edge guy, 6'2", 240. He only played 2 games last season for Oklahoma State because of a foot injury, but in his career, Oliver has generated pressure on 16.8% of his pass rushing snaps. So I like to hear that. And then we're going to rattle through the last 3. Round 6, and don't worry, hit that like button, hit that sub button. I'm a diehard Green Bay Packers fan. We are going to post a ton of Packers content this whole summer. Another Georgia guy at 198, Warren Brinson, DT. He was the 5th one drafted from Goody since 2021. All of them remain on the roster except for Eric Stokes, who's now with Las Vegas. But TJ Slayton signed with the Cincinnati Bengals, so needed more interior defensive line guys. His best season was back in 2023, but I'm feeling good about Warren Brinson and making the roster. Then 2 7th-round picks, Micah Robinson and John Williams. They both, it's interesting because this is the 3rd straight year the Packers have taken a corner in the 7th round. Think Carrington Valentine, Kalen King last season, and then John Williams, offensive lineman out of Cincy. He started every game the past 2 seasons at left tackle, but a lot of people think he's going to switch to guard. So another guard guy for Green Bay. Folks, that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Give me your grade on the Packers draft, and then give me your favorite player. And if you want to throw in a gem, let me know. That is it for me. Thanks.